Peace and blessings, brother Zarakia. I gotta do this video. My brother told me that if I didn't do the video, he was gonna call me some explicit names. So I'm getting into it. And my son, shout out to Aaron Moshe. Uh, this piece is kind of a relaunching of the Universal Breath of Life and the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing and moving the way that we will be moving from this point forward. I'd like to say real quick that when my second marriage ended, my wife had left me and went with some other guy. I'm not even going to go into that story, but I will say that along with the terrible abandonment / divorce and all of that stuff that happened, my children being taken and all of that, and the community, the spiritual community that I was a part of, the African Hebrew Israelites of Jerusalem under the leadership of Ben Ami, pretty much turned their back on me. A lot of the folks in leadership said I got what I deserved, and I got no help from anybody. Left Cleveland, went back to Boston, and one particular day, I was obviously deeply depressed. Anybody who knew me, especially at that time, I was a ball of tears every single day. It was the darkest, by far the darkest part of my life. I cried every day. Anything could make me cry. Walking through the grocery store, hearing a song on the radio, talking to somebody. I remember going to Brother VCR's poetry event at the Big Head African Art Museum, and just sitting in the front row listening to poetry and then crying. I didn't even get up to speak or perform because I was just, it was real dark. And I'm mentioning that not because of the sadness like that. It was pretty much because there was one day in particular, my Aunt Sheiry took me, my sons, my brother's children, and a couple other folks. We went out for the day, a couple Goodwills, lunch. It was a real nice time, and I needed it. But shortly after the day had ended, I got a call from my aunt, and she was saying how she was asking me what was wrong. She said, while we were out, you did a lot of laughing, and but I could see in your eyes you were in West Nutville somewhere, like something was off. And I broke down to her and told her my whole story, or a lot of it, a significant chunk of it, what was going on. My wife just left me. I don't have my sons right now. The community that I love so much turned their back on me. Lost my business. I had a cleaning company. I had a whole lot of things happening in Cleveland. And just one day woke up and it was all gone. My life savings, my cleaning company, the rank stature I had within the community in Cleveland, and my comrades, everything. My world had just shattered. And she told me something. She said that, she asked me, she said, have you ever noticed that you've been a part of quite a few organizations and communities, growing up Muslim, my Nation of Islam, World Community of Islam in the West, American Muslim Mission, some of that as a child. But as an adult, Nation of Yahweh under Yahweh Ben Yahweh, African Hebrew Israelites under Ben Ami, just different organizations and communities trying to find myself. And she said, you notice how the story always seems to end the same. You know, somebody did you wrong. Kind of sounds like that Michael Jackson song on his Off the Wall album. No matter how it starts, it ends the same. Someone's always doing someone wrong. So she was saying that, and asking me, you know, have you noticed the pattern that no matter what organization you go to, what community you tie yourself to, it always is a sad ending for you. And she said, the reason is you were created to do something and to be something that you're running from. And instead of you growing into that leader that you're supposed to be, that thing that you're supposed to be doing, you attach yourself to other organizations and they chew you up and spit you out. And I wanted her to be so wrong because she had never been part of the Nation of Islam. You know, she had never been part of the African Hebrew Israelite community, which I saw to be the kingdom of Yah, or God on earth. She had never been part of the nation of Yahweh under Yahweh ben Yahweh. And for that stint in my life, I really believed that Yahweh ben Yahweh was God, the Son of God, and this and that. So she couldn't know that I found the truth and she didn't, you know, so it made sense to her that what she was saying was right, but I really found the kingdom of heaven now, you know, and this is where I'm supposed to be. So even after the conversation with her, I somehow found my way back to the quote-unquote kingdom, the African Hebrew Israelites. Went back to, instead of Cleveland, into D.C., and my days got darker. I was used and abused by the leadership there, particularly the Crown Brother Baruch, who's the love doctor on Michael Baisden's show. But I was abused real bad, you know, made to stay up days at a time and work for free for nearly a year, you know, getting nothing, and, you know, sleeping on floors and in chairs and confined to the Everlasting Life complex for weeks at a time, you know. It was crazy. And I did that because I believed that I had found the kingdom of God, and this was just me paying my dues or being an obedient servant in this organization or community. And ended up, when I found out there was no light at the end of the tunnel, and if it was an oncoming train. So I ended up leaving the organization, found my way back to Nation of Islam, and but I was very bruised from all of the other experiences I had, so it didn't take a lot for me to not really mesh, even though Minister Don, may God be pleased with him, you know, really rolled the red carpet out for me and really was happy at our budding relationship. And it just didn't work out for me in Boston. I ended up moving back to Pittsburgh, found my way back to the mosque here in Pittsburgh. And a lot of ins and outs. And ultimately it stuck and it felt good to be a part. And then it went south, real south. You know, I'm accused of being an agent, a hypocrite, this or that. You know, it was bad. And so here I am all over again. And believe me, I have extreme love for the Nation of Islam, Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I have nothing but love for the nation. But, you know, in this point in my development, the voice of my Aunt Sheiry has been ringing very loud in my ear, and the truth of what it was that she was saying in terms of me running from my own destiny, my own path that was preordained at birth, you know. I know that I've always, even when I moved to Boston, me and my brother, we began at an early age. You know, I'm 18, he's like 16, and we had this idea to build a black movement called OBU, or Organization for Black Unity, you know. And because I have always been universal in my thinking, you know, that we should all be able to come to the table regardless of our various belief systems. And something happened along the way when we were organizing the organization and was making our introduction to the world by way of a lecture that I was giving at Roxbury Community College. And this sister named Aya De Leon was in the crowd, and she raised her hand in the middle of my little speech and asked me, why am I up front and everybody's looking at me? Why don't I come off of the rostrum and we form a circle and just talk equally about things? And right then and there, I forfeited the trajectory of our organization, because it turned out that she was part of an organization called Free My People. And Free My People was funded and maintained by a white organization called the American Friendship Service Committee, which is an organization that Malcolm X in the 60s had warned us about when he said that Europeans will have these organizations where they pay black people to be militant and to do this and do that, but they're really pulling all of the strings and kind of moving us in the way that they want us to, kind of like what George Soros did with Black Lives Matter. So we were so distracted that we were pulled almost all the way into Free My People. Going to their meetings every day, being around them. They took us to see KRS-One at Harvard University giving a lecture. Took us to Northeastern, where the Jungle Brothers was giving a lecture / performance. And we hung out at MIT. It was just crazy. And there was so much activity, and we got caught up in the doing. I traveled with them and spoke at Yale University on behalf of Free My People, and then came back to Boston and caught myself giving all kind of lectures and so entrenched in what Free My People was doing that OBU never really seen the light of day. And somehow or another, we ended up, instead of getting back to what it was we were doing, the teachings and doctrines of Yahweh ben Yahweh caught our attention. And for nearly 10 years, we were dedicated, he and I were dedicated to this movement, the Nation of Yahweh. You know, built a multi-million-dollar enterprise amongst myself, my brother, the other members of the local community in Boston. You know, from grocery stores to restaurants, bought a nightclub from Marvin Hagler, and was really, really doing the thing. Fast forward to the point where the brother that was the head of our little conglomerate took everything, because he had a white Jewish lawyer and knew how to do all of the paperwork so that everything ended up in his and his family's possession. So I had to start life all over, and ended up finding my way to the African Hebrew Israelites, and really jumping from the fire, from the frying pan into the fire, because now this time I will lose businesses that I created myself, and I will lose my wife and my children to someone else within the organization with the blessings of the leadership, including Prince Asiel Ben Israel. And Ben Ami had wind of it as well. I know this for a fact. But I'm just saying all of that to say that, in all of these trials and tribulations, I found the words of my aunt resonating. And with all of the distractions that I've had, when I finally shook off all of it, I began to rebuild the idea that we had with Organization for Black Unity, but under the name Universal Breath of Life. And even when I was in Boston, and me and some brothers and sisters there, we had a concept called the Village, and we were a village because everybody had their own thing going. Brother VCR had Bloodskin Land Productions, Brother Adika, the Messianic African Nation. There was various organizations and thoughts and ideas, but we came together as brothers and sisters, and and was really, really about that community life and whatnot. And so, but even after that, I found my way back to the Nation of Islam. And now, after the stint here in Pittsburgh and the things that have taken place, I feel that it's really time, especially, the age that I am now. There's no more time to waste in terms of giving my life to something and hoping we get it right this time, and find out that the words of my aunt will stand true, that go ahead, keep tying yourself to this, that, and the third. And if you don't, drive your own flag in the ground and do your what God created you to do, and serve the people that you were made to serve by bringing your ideas to life. The story will keep being the same. So I think I've learned that lesson, and I feel like I owe my Aunt Sheiry an apology, because she gave me those words over 20 years ago. And I'm just now taking them so serious that I'm willing to put all of the chips in and bet on myself and bet on the things that I want to do. So with Universal Breath of Life, what we want to do is bring all of our organizations and communities together, because just in this video alone, I've had negative things to say about the experiences that I've had with the organizations. But even with Sheiry, the brother in Boston, working with the Jewish lawyer and making sure that his family was good and our families ended up with nothing, I have learned so much from that experience, and there's some keys that we will take from that experience and apply it moving forward. It was only 4 or 5 of us who moved out of our houses and into the basement of a grocery store that we had was renting, and ended up in 1 year's time owning the entire block, and living in that basement for nearly a decade and creating that $1 million organization. With my experience from the African Hebrew Israelites, I love, even to this day, the teachings of Ben Ami. May God be pleased with him. You know, I love the teachings of the man, and I love the idea of black people taking a doctrine, a belief, and an idea so serious that they're willing to pack up and abandon the comforts of America to move to Africa and then into Israel, really, really believing that they were, you know, the children of the biblical Israelites. You know, I believe it so much that I'm willing to put my whole life into it. And then establishing God-centered institutions like Soul Vegetarian, a vegan restaurant chain across the planet. And every institution that they brought forth reflected the embodiment of the doctrine that they espouse. That's beautiful. So regardless of what Prince Asiel did, or Prince Ram, or Prince Emmanuel, or, you know, regardless of what occurred in my life with the blessings of those in leadership, there are still some golden nuggets that came from that community and that organization that I will not only love and cherish forever, but borrow and put it into practice with the universal breath of life. It doesn't matter what me and the student coordinator of men, the problems we've had here in Pittsburgh, or the student minister, the problems that we've had here in Pittsburgh, the struggles or whatever from the Nation of Islam. There's nothing bad that I have to say about the Nation of Islam. I love it and will always love and defend the Nation of Islam to the world. In fact, the Nation of Islam had Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had an idea called the Millions More Movement. And back then, when he had the Millions More Movement, I was still under the teachings of Ben Ami, but fell in love with the nation all over again because of the idea of the Millions More Movement, like all of our black communities coming together, black organizations coming together for one common cause. Not sure why it dissipated. I know that I sat with Brother Conrad Worrell and Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz, and they gave me some criticisms or ideas of what happened, why it kind of waned off, you know, from their perspective and vantage point, which I won't share now, but, you know, the idea is the same as Universal Breath of Life to a degree. With the Universal Breath of Life, the key difference is not only do we lock arms and say that we're brothers and sisters and march together, but let's borrow some of the practices and bring them to the table if they're good for the collective of our people. Why not bring it to the table? Why do our differences have to be our weakness? Why can't it be our strength? Why can't we have a universal breath of life building where on Fridays the Muslims can hold Jummah, and Friday evening the Muslims will open it up for a banquet to serve the community for free. And as the community is eating, they can ask questions of the Muslims. Well, why do you believe this? Why do you believe that? And we can learn why the Muslims believe in Prophet Muhammad, why the Muslims believe in the name of Allah, why the Muslims believe in the sanctity of Mecca and the Hajj and different things, you know. On Saturdays, the Hebrew Israelites could come and observe the Shabbat or the Sabbath, and Saturday evenings open it up for a community dinner or banquet where the community can come and eat and along with the dinner ask questions of the Israelites. You know, on Sundays our Christian brothers and sisters can have services, and then Sunday evening they sponsor the dinner where the community can ask questions and enjoy the company of our Christian brothers and sisters and get to understand in a way that we really haven't understood. So, because one thing that I know is with my experiences from these organizations, there has been a lot of common threads, and there remains a lot of common threads, unfortunately, for the good and the bad. And I say the bad because the Europeans gave us the whole concept of anathema. You know, after the Council of Nicaea was established by the Emperor Constantine. Years later, when the Council of Chalcedon was established, it was said that whoever didn't believe in the decrees brought forth from the Council of Nicaea were to be anathematized, which means, it simply means that if you die, you got what you deserve because you didn't believe the way that we believed. If I kill you, I'm absolved from killing you because you didn't believe like me anyway. So that kind of thinking and behavior has found itself into many and most of our communities. Very easy to call someone a hypocrite, a Judas, an agent. And that doesn't mean that there aren't agents. That doesn't mean that there aren't hypocrites and those, you know, who wish the organizations bad. But not everybody. Sometimes you can go into a shoe store and try on some shoes and they just don't fit. Sometimes you could go into a clothing store and try on an outfit that just doesn't fit for you. That doesn't mean that you're a bad person because you can't fit that outfit or those shoes. It's just not for you. The outfit might even look good on the next person, but not so much on yourself. You know? And so we go into organizations, I don't think this is not, you know, this one right here is not for me. That doesn't make me a bad person. It just means that my search continues, you know, and I think that's where we are. And that's why Universal Breath of Life has to exist, because we have to have an organization that can in time become the embodiment of the total Black experience. You know, so many times when we are in organizations, we discount everything that came before it and everything that's existing beside it. You know, when we go to the church sometimes, we never endeavor to study anything from Islam or anything from the Hebrew Israelite perspective. Because in our world, this is all that exists. Same with the Muslims, same with the Israelites. I was there. I moved to Boston. Me and my brother, we was working on OBU, loving the totality of the black experience. Becoming Israelites under Yahweh ben Yahweh, and all of a sudden, these two young brothers who loved black people started hating anything that wasn't indicative of the teachings of Yahweh ben Yahweh. So if you was a Muslim, to us, you were a Muslim nigger. If you was a Christian, to us, you were a Christian nigger. Even if you were an Israelite, but not under Yahweh ben Yahweh, you was a lost, dazed, confused Israelite nigger. So these same pure spirits who only intended good for black people became the antithesis of that, thinking that we had found God now, so we were right and everybody's wrong, and the best you could do is learn and become a disciple of Yahweh ben Yahweh as we had. Moved to African Hebrew Israelite under Ben Ami. His teachings were more friendly, more respectful of other organizations, but we still felt that, you know, he was Yah's representative on earth, and, you know, this was the kingdom, you know, and everything else was just of the world, you know. Same with Islam, you know. All you got to do is read my father's book, especially the things that he has to say about me, you know, in terms of anything that is not of the thoughts and beliefs where he is now is off. You know, he made the statement to me one time that he prays Allah's forgiveness for any time that he let a non-believer stay in his house. You know, so when my sister and her husband went to visit Houston and found themselves staying at a hotel, and instead of their father's house, her father's house, they don't know. She don't know the conversation that I heard, because he was having that conversation with me and to me, you know. But it just goes to show the level of our beliefs and how it really chokes off the purity of the love that we could have and should have for one another. So that's my piece for now. I'm calling this one the Sheiry Smith effect, because it's, you know, the words of my aunt that have really resonated with me and are ringing louder and clearer in my head and my mind, and influencing my actions now. You know, I appreciate and honor the spirit of Ashaka Musa Barashango, where, you know, he was saying that all of this is ours. You know, so when you go to church, you know, you sing, you dance, you clap, and you worship Jesus even more than everybody else, because that's your knowledge. That's yours. You know, when you're in the masjid, you reverence Allah, you pray, you know, prostrate more than everybody, because that's your knowledge. You're amongst the Hebrew Israelites. This is our knowledge. The teachings of the nation. Who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man, maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. We're the original. there's nothing that exists where our hand is not in it. You know, we've made this. This is ours. So, universal breath of life is all of that. You know, in thought, idea, and practice. In terms of, you know, we're not discounting anything and anybody. You know, hip hop is ours. Hebrewisms is ours. Christianity is ours. Islam is ours. We want to get on the other side of the Tower of Babel, where it was said, now that the people are one, nothing that they do can be refrained from them. You know, that's not for wickedness' sake. What about the things that we imagine to do for good? What about us coming together and establishing grocery stores and restaurants and hotels? What about us coming together and supporting each other, especially through these dark times where inflation is out the roof and laws and legislation is happening at the speed of light to set us back, and some people intend or pray to get us back into chattel slavery? What about us coming together to defend ourselves, protect ourselves, our women, our children, and love each other and grow our own food again and teach our children and, you know, and enjoy each other's company the way we did in Boston with the village, you know? That's it. That's it. So, you know, just stay tuned. And if this resonates with you, you know, in terms of locking arms, and you may say, you know, I'm in the church. I love the church. I don't plan on leaving the church. I think that, you know, what my church has to offer is good for our people. Well, come and take a seat at the table and bring that, you know. But come with a willingness to learn how what this Israelite brother has is good for our people, and what this FOI, Fruit of Islam, or MGT has is good for our people. And let's lock it up and really do something significant for the salvation and the perpetuation of our people. Because, Lord, we have a lot of common enemies. So let's build and develop an even greater common love and common unity for our people. Shout outs to Sister Billy Vaughn. That's my piece. Peace.